Jimmy Butler is officially joining forces with Steph Curry on the Warriors in a blockbuster trade. The deal will reportedly send Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters III, and a protected first-round pick away from Golden State. However, this isn't just a two-team trade between the Warriors and the Heat. Several other teams are involved. The Jazz are set to acquire Schroeder, while the Pistons will receive Waters and Josh Richardson from Miami. The Raptors are also in the mix, likely landing Kyle Anderson, though the full details are still emerging and will likely be confirmed by insiders like Shams. And to me, it's obvious that this trade signals a major shift for the Warriors, essentially sacrificing their future to maximize their present championship window. So all that talk from Curry about not depleting the future and leaving the team better than he found it is out the window. And even though comments about not making impulsive moves at the deadline suggested he was losing faith in the team's direction, it's clear that the team is still trying to move in that direction towards championship aspirations. However, whether it was Curry's decision or the front office acting independently, the Warriors still ultimately pulled the trigger to acquire Butler for one last title push. Interestingly, neither Butler nor the Warriors initially had each other as their top choice. Butler was pushing to join the Suns, but Bradley Beal refused to waive his no-trade clause, and Phoenix wasn't willing to part with Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. No other teams were able to facilitate a deal that could absorb Beal's contract while still being competitive enough to entice him. Butler even warned teams like the Bucks not to trade for him. Ironically, he once claimed that if the Warriors acquired him, he wouldn't sign an extension. Yet as soon as he arrived in Golden State, he agreed to a 2-year, $121 million extension through the 2026 through 27 season. Most likely, he realized his dream of joining the Suns wasn't happening and adjusted his stance. Similarly, the Warriors have been eyeing a reunion with Kevin Durant, but KD showed little to no interest in returning. With that door closed, they pivoted to the next best option, Jimmy Butler. In the end, both Butler and the Warriors settled for each other, even if it wasn't their first choice. You see, this trade wasn't easy for the Warriors. It took 5 teams to get it done. If that doesn't highlight their desperation to land Jimmy Butler, nothing will. They know their time with Steph Curry is running out, and this move feels like a last-ditch effort to maximize what he's got left in the tank. The deal itself looks like a gamble. Parting ways with Andrew Wiggins is a big move, and I know what Butler is capable of in the playoffs, but if you're just looking at stats, Wiggins is averaging 18-2-5, and Jimmy Butler is averaging 17-5-5. And hear me when I say this. I know there's a difference between regular season Jimmy and playoff Jimmy. I can make that distinction. Playoff Jimmy is the guy that took a play-in team to the finals, but there's no guarantee that the Warriors will get that version of Butler. Beyond Wiggins, they're also giving up Dennis Schroeder, who they seemingly just acquired from Brooklyn, and he's been bouncing around the league, I guess. Then there's slow-mo Kyle Anderson, who was a solid offseason addition, along with Lindy Waters III and a first-round pick. The Warriors are betting big on Butler, and only time will tell if it pays off. And for now, I don't think this automatically makes this team a championship caliber team, because right now they're just one game over 500. They're not in the fight for a championship, they're in the fight to have a winning record. They're not in the fight for a playoff spot, they're in the fight to keep their play-in spot. And that's where we need to be honest with ourselves. Just because a blockbuster trade happens and big names are involved, doesn't mean Golden State's problems will magically disappear overnight. That said, Butler's presence should help in certain areas. With him on the floor, teams might not double-team Curry as aggressively, which could relieve some of the pressure on him, especially since Curry has struggled at times this season. While Butler can provide some relief, this one move isn't going to completely turn the Warriors' season around. At least not immediately. It's going to take some time, and the window is closing fast. The Warriors likely only have a year or two left with Curry, Draymond, and Butler together. Truthfully, this roster retooling should have started much sooner. They should have never made pods untouchable, and they should have pulled the trigger on the Lauri Markkanen deal when they had the chance. And even now, they still don't have a true center. Why are they still relying on Draymond and Kuminga to play the 5? That's another glaring issue this team still needs to address. And yes, there are a lot of problems that the Warriors do need to address, but I kind of want to transition to looking at this trade from the Miami Heat's perspective. You see, Pat Riley has a history of being passive at the trade deadline, often missing opportunities to improve the roster. In recent years, that inactivity frustrated Jimmy Butler, especially when rumored deals for stars like Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard fell through. There was even a time when people speculated that Giannis might not re-sign with the Bucks and that Miami could swoop in to finally get Butler a true co-star. But none of that ever happened, which likely played a role in Butler's growing frustration. This time though, Riley took action. He actively worked to resolve the Jimmy Butler situation because it wasn't going away. There was a brief theory floating around that Miami might actually keep Butler, but that was never realistic. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat encouraged that narrative just to make other teams desperate and drive up Butler's trade value. But from my perspective, it was always clear that the relationship between Butler and the Heat was beyond repair. Now, I could have seen Riley either dumping Butler's contract on a non-contender or keeping him until his value declined, but instead, he sent Butler somewhere that at least somewhat fits what Butler wanted. Credit to the Heat for finally moving on from what had become a major headache, especially considering Butler's suspensions, his practice walkouts, and even missing a team flight. Miami is moving forward, while the Warriors have now taken on the challenge of managing Jimmy Butler, all in the pursuit of Curry's 5th ring. But what do you think? What's the Warriors' ceiling this season with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry? Tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.